Good morning, orange sniffers and yogurt pot botherers. Welcome to today's edition of the Fast Moving Ghost Caboose. Lou Reed's Metal Machine Music, reviewed by Lester Bangs in 1976 in the March edition of Creem, the greatest album ever made. It has been suggested that in my annual regress report to the stockholders, published here last month, I neglected in all 5,000 words to ever once mention why Metal Machine Music is a good album. So here, especially in the light of Coney Island Baby, are the reasons. Lester Bangs lists his reasons, starting with number 1. If you ever thought feedback was the best thing that ever happened to the guitar, well, Lou just got rid of the guitars. 2. I realised that any idiot with the equipment could have made this album, including me, you, or Lou. That's one of the main reasons I like it so much. As with The Gods and Tangerine Dream, not only does it bring you closer to the artist, but someday, God willing, I may get to do my own Metal Machine music. It's all folk music anyway. When you wake up in the morning with the best... Number 3. When you wake up in the morning with the worst hangover of your... Number 3, when you wake up in the morning with the worst hangover of your life, Metal Machine Music is the best medicine. Because when you first arise, you're probably so fucked, in other words, still drunk, that it doesn't even really hurt yet, not like it's going to. So you should put this album on immediately, not only to clear all that crap out of your head, but to prepare you for what's in store for the rest of the day. Number 4. Speaking of clearing out crap, I once had this friend who would say, I take acid at least every 2 months and just blow all the bad shit out of my brain. End quote. So I say the same thing about Metal Machine Music, except that I take it about once a day, like vitamins. Number 5. In his excellent liner notes, Lou asserts that he and the other speed freaks did not start World War I or II, or the Bay Pigs for that matter, and he's right. If everybody took amphetamines all the time, everybody would understand each other. Keep in mind, the biographer of Lou Reed quite rightly called this album a hymn to speed. Either that or never listen or bother with the other son of the bitch, because they're all too busy spending 3 days drawing psychedelic lines around each piece of paper, around a piece of steno paper, and until it's totally black, writing 80-page letters about meaningless occurrences to their mothers, or creating Metal Machine Music. There would be no more wars, and peace and harmony would reign. Just imagine Gerald Ford on speed. He might manifest some glimmer of personality, or Ronald Reagan, a blood vessel in his snapping turtle lips would immediately burst, perhaps ridding us of that cocksucker. As is well known by now, JFK enjoyed regular injections of meth and vitamins from Happy Croakers. Nuff said. He may not have actually accomplished anything except the Bay of Pigs. Wait a minute, Lou hasn't been doing his homework. But he had style and a winning smile. Number 6. I have heard this record characterized as anti-human and anti-emotional. That is, in a sense, since it is music made by more tape recorders, amps, speakers, microphones, and ring modulators than any set of human hands or emotions. But so what? Almost all music today is anti-emotional and made by machines too. From Elton John to disco to Sally Can't Dance, which Lou doesn't realise is one of his best albums precisely because it's so cold. It's computerised formula production line shit into which the human heart enters very rarely, if at all. At least Lou is upfront about it, which makes him more human than the rest of those middle-of-the-road dick noses. Besides which, any record that sends listeners fleeing the room, screaming for surcease of oral flagellation, or alternately getting physical and disturbing your medications to the point of breaking the damn thing, can hardly be accused, at least in results, if not original creative man-hours, of lacking emotional content. Why do people go see movies like Jaws, the Exorcist, or Ilse, she-wolf of the SS. So they can get beaten over the head with baseball bats, have their nerves wrenched while electrodes are being stapled to their spines, and be generally brutalized at least once every 15 minutes or so. The time between the face falling out of the bottom of the sunk boat and the guy's bit-off leg hitting the bottom of the ocean. This is what today is commonly understood as entertainment, as fun, as art even. So they've got a lot of nerve landing on Lou for Metal Machine Music. At least here there's no 15 minutes of bullshit padding between brutalizations. Anybody who's got off on The Exorcist should like this record. It's certainly far more a moral product. Or far more moral a product. Number 7, Charisma. Lou's been slipping of late, but for those who remember and understand the myth, the legend, in other words, he was an emblem of absolute negativism, Metal Machine Music has more charisma than a cage full of porcupines has quills. Number 8. All landlords are mealy-mouthed bastards who would let the ruins of Pompeii fall on your four-poster before they'd lift a finger. They deserve whatever they get, and Metal Machine Music is the all-time guaranteed lease breaker. Every tenant in America should own a copy of this album. Forearmed. Number 9. My pet land hermit crab, Spud, who sometimes goes for days at a time curled up inside his shell in a corner of the cage, so you gotta check to see if he's dead, likes Metal Machine Music a lot. Every time I put it on, he comes out of his shell and starts crawling happily around the sand and climbing the bars. It is in fact the only time I ever see him get any exercise. Either that or he's dancing. Number 10. I have been told that Lou's recordings, but most specifically this item, have become a kind of secret cult among teenage mental institution inmates across the nation. I have been told further that those adolescents who have been subjected to electroshock therapy enjoy a particular affinity for Metal Machine Music, that it reportedly soothes their nerves and is ultimately a kind of anthem. If anybody out there reading this knows any more about this phenomenon, please get in touch with me immediately. Lou Reed claimed to have had his parents try to cure his homosexuality, or his attraction to men at least, with electroshock therapy. Number 11. This is a recurring theme in Lester Bang's writing. References to Idi Amin, the dictator of Uganda in the 70s. I played it for President Idi Big Daddy Amin of Uganda when he flew me and Lisa Robinson, who was a journalist at the time, over there to interview him for upcoming cover articles in Creem and Hit Parader, and he absolutely loved it. I gave him a copy, and now by special edict he has it piped through the music fence of every supermarket, all 35 of them, and doctor's waiting room, all 8, in his great nation. I think it should be doctors' waiting rooms, so that the citizens there may be inspired to ever fiercer heights of patriotism for his regime and all that it stands for. He wanted to declare... He wanted to declare it for the Ugandan national anthem, but I told him that I would have to check with the American teenage shock vets first, and being a wise, fair, graciously diplomatic politician, he of course immediately assented, and then, genial host that he is, whisked us off to see a live multiple snuff film done sans camera and celluloid. We can't afford them, he explained. And besides, the next time you have a dangling conversation with Paul Simon, you can inform him that the theatre is not really dead. Number 12. I think that in this time of recession, depression, and with the whole music business tightening its belt, it is truly thoughtful of Lou to cut recording costs as much as Metal Machine Music must have, especially when you consider the stupefying self-indulgence of so many of today's rock masterpieces in inverted commas, with their overproductions so baroquely lavish it all turns to tinsel. Only James Brown, I think, approaches Lou's achievement here in terms of sheer economy and minimal booking of expensive studio time. Metal Machine Music is actually far from some nihilistic rampage, one giant win button, or more precisely two, since it's a 2-record set. And why is this, of all Lou Reed albums, and the man's songwriting profligacy, it should be profligacy, it says prolificacy, is indeed astounding. Just lock Lou in a room for 1 hour, Dennis Katz once told me. Dennis Katz was the ex-manager of Lou Reed in the early 70s. And when you let him out, he's got 15 new songs. The reason why he keeps on recording old Velvet Underground outtakes he wrote upwards of a decade ago is that he's saving all his best new stuff for the 863 LPs to be released, one every 2 months after he dies, assuming that he ever does. Lou Reed went on to record, I believe, 22 full LPs, or something around that number. I'm not going to let these bloodsuckers rip me off and tarnish my memory like happened to poor Jimmy, he confided to me once over 2 Schaffers drafts at McSorley's. My fans will never get less than A+ quality, as my friend Bob Christgau would put it, and besides, it's quite likely that I will live forever, because me and some doctor friends I hang out with just discovered that there's a secret, heretofore unknown ingredient in methamphetamine which retards the aging process. This is Lou Reed talking. Allegedly. So theoretically, if you can get and just keep shooting this stuff, you could live for the rest of human history, which is why we're doing some resynthesizing experiments to see if we can bring this little ingredient a little more into the foreground of the compound. I think it's called atropine. It's been around for a long time. The Indians knew about it, but recognized in the face of their dog-raced inferiority, it would be more moral to forget about it and submit themselves to extermination by white Europeans, who were the only ones with the technological know-how to extract the raw chemical and refine it into a form you can cook up and shoot. But anyway, that's where you get that Ponce de Leon stuff, and his only problem was the fucker, being a dumb spick, naturally had no idea how to prepare it in any potent form. So everybody concluded it was a myth and forgot about it until I came along, and Potency is my middle name. So now you can let your readers in on the little secret that not only am I the toughest, baddest, most well-hung stud in show business, which actually is only because in 1973 I went to Sweden and had a transplant, so now instead of a cock, I got a horse doctor's syringe. Not only that, but there's a damn good chance I'm even going to cut that punk Cagliostro at his own riffs and live forever. Of course, you can never discount unforeseen circumstances, plane crashes and the like, which is why I've got these 800 albums in the can just in case. There's all sorts of stuff, like one is I rewrote my own version of Rigoletto. You know that opera by Scriabin, except it's set in this Puerto Rican leather bar where all the customers are amputated at the thigh and rolling around on these little carts on wheels. They keep trying to have punch-outs, except the carts keep bumping and they can't reach each other. So they get very frustrated. I sang all the parts myself, and I stole all the lyrics off the old Lucas Tanner dialogue. But nobody will notice the difference because I made the music salsa, and it's so fucking loud you can't hear any of the words. But I'm not going to put that out just yet. They'll have to wait a while for that. What my next album is going to be is the follow-up to Metal Machine Music, which sounds exactly the same, except it's going to be a concept album about all the stuff I was telling you about before, about aging, and a 5-record set in a gold embossed box with a booklet inside featuring blown up Polaroid SX70s of me tying off, hitting up, sterilising my works with alcohol, and then going out Christmas shopping for Andy and all the kids at Bloomingdale's and the Pleasure Chest, where the last pic is me modelling a cock ring on my horse Geezer. I predict by that time the general public will have grown ears and gotten hip enough to appreciate Metal Machine music, so this follow-up, which I'm going to call Triumph of the will be the best-selling LP of all time, and those rat fucks in Chicago can suck my asshole, along with that little blob Elton John, who could use some speed almost as bad as Leslie West, but can't have any of mine, because as I think it was Pat Ass said in that fabulous review of Coney Island Baby in the Soho Weekly News, I have seen Rock's future, and its name is Lou Reed. A double album, you ask? Simple. The 2 discs are, according to Lou, symbolic of 2 tits. There's never more than 2, he explained, to signify that this is, albeit mechanized, a very sexy album designed to cut in heavily on the hot Barry White market. Number 14. Everybody knows that drugs come in sexes. Downs are feminine, speed is masculine. Downs make you all nice and sweet and pliant and tenderized, like with Easy Bake. Easy Bake was a toy oven marketed to kids. Whereas speed makes you aggressive and visceral and forthright and a real take charge kind of guy or gal. Makes no difference because all humans are the same sex except albinos. It is the drugs that obviously determine the gender of the being. So which one you take when you get up in the morning just involves whether you want to be Donna Mills or Joe Don Baker that day. Joe Don Baker, both actors or actress and an actor. It's totally your prerogative. Similarly, Coney Island Baby, fine and indeed heartfelt as it is a Downs LP. No put down involved. Lou's favourite old Velvet songs were always the ballads. And he's got a right to get sweet on himself. Love is silt. Anybody who has ever taken Quaaludes are a sedative, which were quite popular at the time, and wound up, Quaaludes is what that fella put in people's drinks. What's his name? The dude who was sent down. Anybody who has ever taken Quaaludes and wound up loving the rest of the human race so much they ended up in bed with a human turnip knows that. The lyrics are better than any Looney Tunes in a while, but note that not since Transformer have so many of them been explicitly preoccupied with the gay scene, which certainly can't be said of Coney Island Baby's immediate predecessor. Me, I like sex with vegetables, but I nurse this lingering paranoia that someday, some drunken night, I may get a radish between the sheets and discover it's homosexual. Thus I feel threatened by Coney Island Baby, just as I feel threatened by Valiums, Tuinals, Seconals, Quaaludes, and Compos. Metal Machine music, on the contrary, reinforces my sense of myself as a man. With it, I can kill, even Puerto Ricans, which is the ultimate bar mitzvah. Under my blacklight presidential campaign poster of Hunter Thompson, I bolt upright in repose, my rifle casually draped across my lap, listening to Metal Machine music and dreaming of My Lie as starring Fritz the Cat. So fuck Downs, avoid Coney Island Baby, like guys who wear green on Thursday, and keep it, your fist, uptight. Number 15. Metal Machine music is Lou's soul. If there's one thing he would like to see buried in a time capsule, this is it. Number 16. It sounds better on Romola than any other record I've ever heard. Number 17. It is the greatest record ever made in the history of the human eardrum. Number 2. Kiss Alive!